on the sheer numbers that are involved in this, some 35,000 Australians being watched, essentially.
Yes, Peter. Well, not just, that's only what we know at this point. So apparently 2.5 million records were leaked, and only about 10% of them have been understood so far. And that 2.5 million person database is probably a subset of bigger data holdings that Chinese companies have. So we're seeing this elephant through a straw, but the bit of the elephant we can see says 35,000 Australians are being spied on at a scale and a depth that people just find hard to understand.
There's a theme here too with the targets, isn't there, Michael? You know, you've got Scott Morrison, Joe Hockey, Arthur Sinodinos, Mike Cannon-Brooks even, Andrew Hastie. So how do you read into that? People who have pretty good contacts, I would have thought.
Well, I think we can see powerful people, influencers and their families, including their children. So it looks like, if you were looking at it from an intelligence point of view, who knows who can influence who, and who, if I've got information on, can I blackmail, pressure, or just do open deals with to my advantage? That's what it looks like to me.
Do you think they would expect that? Do you think, you know, someone like Scott Morrison would expect that, you know, China would be trying to gather as much information as they can through this, what is it, open source intelligence collection?
Yes, to a level, but I think the scale and depth of it and the number of people around the globe, not just in Australia, and the fact that it's about children as well. It's like a longitudinal database of people that might be influential in the future. And it's also about being able to blackmail people because of things that their family, children and contacts have done. It's got a very sinister aspect to it.
What is open source intelligence collection? I mean, we're talking about things that are published on Facebook and Twitter and such things.
Yes, but it's really being able to pick up the enormous data sets that we leave. Everybody leaves a digital snail trail behind them as we go about our daily life now because of the smartphones and computers we interact with all the time. It's about picking up all those trails and then looking at the pattern about individuals and relationships. So it's really seeing a woven rug out of lots of fragments that have been put together.
Michael, just switching topics, the government making an announcement, and we just had Angus Taylor on the show a short time ago. They're basically boosting Australia's fuel supplies quite considerably, it would turn out. First of all, from a strategic point of view, what are your thoughts on that kind of investment?
I think it's a fundamentally good thing. For decades, the Australian government, of whatever persuasion, has been gaming at the international fuel supply to count stuff under contract, stuff floating towards Australia in tankers, all kinds of tricky ways to try and meet our obligations to have 90 days storage. This is starting to change because we're starting to see investment in domestic fuel holdings. It's very important strategically because if you run out of masks during a pandemic, that's awful. If you run out of fuel, everything stops.
Is war in China the unspoken words today when it comes to this announcement? What if that happens? And do we have enough fuel in case there is some kind of conflict in the South China Sea, which would disrupt supply lines, obviously?
Well, I think the answer to that is yes, because Taiwan and the South China Sea are two of the most credible places where there could be a major war involving China and the US, and that means US partners and allies like Australia. So given the defence update that the Prime Minister released says we don't have 10 years warning time for war, it could happen any time sooner. Getting these fuel stocks in place means our military could keep operating and so could our economy.
And is that enough today, Michael, the announcement that they're making, or is it just a start that we need?
It's really a start. This is decades of underinvestment. It's got to be connected to a refinery strategy and also the kind of fuels we need, including aviation fuel. So it's a great start, big focus on diesel. That's the thing that keeps the country moving. But we really need to look more closely at our particular needs during conflict.
Okay.